Alrighty. I need to reroute Spotify. It's coming through the right headphones, but I'm not able to control it in my mixer. One moment. There we go. Now I need to just make sure I don't accidentally route it into OBS. Okay, I don't think it is. Well, hello, everybody. Oh, I did not open our little stream avatars. Okay, they should be popping in shortly. Sweet. It feels weirdly empty without our little raccoon friends there. Does that affect it? Oh, I see. It wants to be like one set size. Will it stay that way? No, it won't. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so today working on objectives. Earlier today, got a lot of just kind of like little bugs corrected. The biggest thing is now the constant force that creates kind of our false gravity that moves our avatars throughout the world. That is now not impacting and kind of overriding the or combining with the just launch force. So before, if you would launch straight in the same direction that gravity is, you would go flying, and then if you go kind of diagonal, you'd be much slower relatively. So now what I'm doing is when we launch, there is no constant force applied, so basically no gravity other than straight down into the floor, and then over time slowly cranking that up. So we slowly get the introduction of gravity added back in, and the stronger the power of the first impulse is, the longer we take to reapply that gravity. Just that way we get like kind of a more consistent launching impact. The other thing today, very small thing, this is actually a pretty fast change, but now our objectives light up the mini-map, or not the mini-map, the fog of war. So that way we don't have just like total blackness, and I lowered the opacity a bit so it's not super bright, so that way it still kind of gives a sense of kind of mystery, and like we don't really know what's there. Like you can see through the total black, but like there could be, if this was like an RTS, there could be enemy units around that, but you wouldn't know because you don't actually have vision into that spot yet. So the objectives. Let's talk about what that's going to be. Right now, it's buggy, but what it should do is, if you are a blue player, what we call the hacker, but if you picked a blue skill, everything's color-coded for simplicity, and you went over that blue circle, you would get a whole bunch of points, and it would put a little checkbox here on the UI. And then same for the red. If red goes over there, if you're not the right color, you would just go through it and nothing would happen. If you get all three, then there is a room. I'll hit stop so you can see it. These two doors would open, and you would be able to get the mysterious treasure that you're heisting inside. Nothing actually happens when you get that treasure currently. So it's purely just like, hey, pretend a cool thing happens if you get there. Now, the two things. Well, first of all, it's broken. It's not working right. So we have to fix that. And honestly, like what I'm aiming to get done, it's probably nearly impossible to do over over the stream because it's I have pretty ambitious goals for this task. But so the first thing we need to do is we just need to fix the ability for like you go over the thing, it checks the box. Yes, you're marking that. Then what I want to do is I actually want to put a little blocker, like a little peg stopper at the end. And if you are the right class, you bump up against that peg and you just stay still. If you are the incorrect class, that peg goes down and you go through. As I'm describing that, what I might do is just skip the peg and just like literally stop the player, just grab the rigid body and just zero out their velocity. And then your unit will stay there. While on your phone, you get a little mini game, a little WarioWare mini game. And so if you're the hacker trying to cut the power lines, you have a little thing to cut and interact with. So that would be, raccoon magnet. That's how magnets work, right? And so they would just stick there if they're the right class. And then on your phone, you'd probably for today, I'm just going to make it like hit a button, like just hit hack, and you would like. Now you're the hacker and you succeeded. Really just trying to get the commands in place. And then once that happens, then it lets you go. Maybe it launches you for extra kind of juiciness. And basically that just whole experience should make hopefully getting one of these objectives more satisfying because you have to do an input. Eventually it'll be a little WarioWare style minigame. And then the other thing, if that wasn't enough, that I want to try to get done this evening is... we have this kind of fun idea. So about twice a week, I go with my team and we play this and I get feedback. I'm currently the only engineer on this project, and so it's really helpful to get like fresh eyes on it. We came up with the idea during our last playtest that what if when you do these objectives, I've always wanted to have like a Rube Goldberg style like heist where it's like a raccoon does a thing and then 3 things triggered and then another thing and so what if like when you complete an objective, like let's say it's chew through the power lines and then it makes I'm just gonna make something weird up, but like it distracts a car and then that's driving by on the road and then the car swerves and crashes through the front of the house. Now you have like a big hole in the front of the house that maybe you couldn't get through there before, and it gives you access to a room that was totally blocked off before. And then the idea is kind of building little stories with those objectives. So the raccoons are trying to do their heist, and as the player, you're interacting and giving them those commands. But at the same time, there's like whoever, like there's the humans that are in this house or in this museum or wherever they're going to be robbing things from, and there's going to be some kind of story that's being told. And every time you do an objective, it moves the story a little further. And I think that could be really fun and could add a lot of interest and depth and like. Let's see what happens when we do this and something fun would happen. I'm trying to think. I played a bunch of Hitman many years ago. I'm trying to remember the accidental kills. Like I know you could just kill whoever you want, but I can't remember if there was like a specific special thing that was accidental kills. Let me start opening what I need to and kind of thinking through how I'm going to actually do this. Let's solve the bug first. Let's actually mark these as checked. It wasn't working when we play tested, even though it should have been. We don't need our console that big. I was doing some research on heist games in general, and the Hitman series is probably like the closest to a heist vibe of almost any game. Like even what is it called? There's like this kind of like indie top-down Monaco. There's a game called Monaco that was like you're doing heists. It's sort of like Hotline Miami, but instead of like brutality or heisty jazz music vibes. But it didn't feel like a heist. It felt like you're just kind of running around, and it didn't really have that energy. With Hitman, you are doing some things like infiltrating, timing things, being clever. So Hitman's currently, in my opinion, like one of the most heist games. Games like GTA, like you're not really doing heists, in my opinion. Okay. Enough about heists. Well, hopefully this game will be that game. A lot of what I'm building now is going between like a lot of it was conceptual. I'm like, I want to feel like a heist. So like build your crew, set your entry time. And it wasn't a lot of fun. And so I pulled back a little bit and I was like, let me get this kind of async movement thing interesting. And now with this kind of false gravity, I think it's pretty interesting. And so as I refine this, I'm going to try to slowly pull back in the theme stronger. So it does feel a lot more like an Ocean's 11 type heist. Escapist. I don't know if I played Escape. Hold on. That sounds familiar. Let me look up Escapist, because that one, I think... Oh, pulled up. Oh, yeah. Okay, this looks familiar. I haven't played this, but I do recognize it. Yeah, I totally remember when I heard about this game. Oh, yeah, 2015. Yeah, this has been out for a minute. I'm going to add it to my wish list. Ooh, Team 17's having Lunar New Year. Save up to 90% on all titles. Okay, I will not be lured by Steam right now. Yeah, I think that's what it was, the Escapists. I just did the Escapist game, and there was like that little kind of pixel art style. Okay, so right now, let's look at how our logic is set up on these dudes. My hierarchy and everything is all funky. Why do I have two? Yeah, okay, hold on. I have to reorganize my windows. I think I was trying to squeeze, like, why is audio mixer even here? I don't want that. I was trying to squeeze like multiple instances on the same screen, so I was doing some weird layouts. Okay, so on a heist object, we have a heist trigger zone script, and then a fog of war revealer. The revealer is what kind of cuts that hole in the fog, and then a score object. And the score objects are kind of the generic script that lets you get points for things. Let's start with the heist step script, because that's probably where the problem is. We can see that it has a player class needed, and so this one needs hacker and a mask of player. Now all of our raccoons, let's double check, but they should be tagged as player. Yeah, they're tagged and layer as player. Okay, so let's go hop over here. All right, so we have on trigger stay. Now, the reason why it's on trigger stay is because at one point, when the game design was very different, you were having to, like, I mean, as the name implies, like, stay on the spot for so many seconds as it filled up, and when it reached full capacity, you then scored the point. And then my solution to do like a low code change is I just made that speed crazy fast. So like you do need to stay on it, but like for just a fraction of a second. It's possible that got changed. So let's double check our values. If I can actually click, there we go. Yeah, fill speed 100. Yeah, so I mean that should fill up like immediately. But at this point, we could also just decide on enter. I think we should just convert it, honestly, at this point. The design's changed enough, and I don't see a reason why that should cause us problems. But I'm sure it always sounds easy, and then you discover problems. Players on trigger zone false. So that way we only allow one, I presume. Right. Okay. So this was like a thing so I could track who was on it. We don't actually care about that. Because, yeah, all this is doing now is just setting a Boolean and then an update loop. We probably fill it, but where is that? Maybe that's the problem. It got deleted, maybe. Previous step completed. Yeah, I can see why it would not work. There's, I think, like, just the wrong function got deleted, which is kind of hilarious. Because I remember at one point being like, we don't care about previous step, and I totally thought I deleted this, but now I'm mysteriously missing another one that should be here. Okay, but that's fine. We also, yeah, we don't care about the order. I have some reservations about removing order, but all the playtests, people have wanted to get them in any order, and like they're frustrated because they used to be numbered. It'd be like 1, 2, 3 objectives, and people would like hit 3 and be like frustrated, like I hit it. Can I please score the point? So we will remove it. Maybe in the future we can find a way to bring that back. We don't care about trigger exit, I don't think. At the very least, we'll just take the code out of it because we're not going to use this player is on trigger zone Boolean. Yeah, because before track, I mean, people were on it. There was all sorts of other logic. Fill speed, we won't want anymore. Target mask, we should keep. Player class needed. Step complete icon. Oh yeah, that's the little checkbox. We won't need a fill meter, and I don't know if we'll need the step numbers since we're not going to do them in an order. I think I'll delete it. I'm just trying to like clean this up so that way it's easier to keep working on. All right. We will leave this mask check because that will still work good for us. And actually we will leave this if statement as well. But we will make it do something else other than set a Boolean that we don't care about anymore. Okay, so if we enter this particular spot, we need to figure out what needs to happen. So one thing would be to take the step complete icon. And is it inactive? Like, let's see like why we don't see the check. Hop over to Unity. Because I want to figure out what it actually needs to do. My guess is it's like an inactive object, and we just need to make it active, or the renderer is inactive, and that's why I need to double check. All right, so if we find the reference, why is it still? Oh, never. Okay, it's here. Yep, it's just an inactive object. Probably be cleaner to set the image, but whatever, it's fine. When I'm like coding my own, I think these things in my head, and I figure for the sake of other people who might be kind of engineers who are just getting started, I think maybe it's valuable to know like things you should do and the ways you should do them, even if I break those rules for my own reasons. The reason being of that, by the way, is like when a game object is disabled, its scripts and whatnot do not run on it, and you can just run into some like weird stuff. Because you're like, a thing should be happening, but the game object is off. And sometimes there's weird race conditions, like that game object is running a script, and then suddenly, like maybe it turns off faster than another time. And so by disabling the renderer, if all I care about is how it looks, that's cleaner. But the reason why I'm doing it this way is just because prototype code, and I know that it wants to be enabled, so I'm going to do that. Game object dot. Actually, you know what? It's already getting the image. Let's do it the right way because it's already an image component as opposed to a game object. So like let's just enable it, and then that just means we need to go over to the objects here and turn them on. Which, by the way, that's what it looks like when it's on. It's that little check mark, but we'll just disable the image. And then it'll enable when we complete it. Let's do that for the other ones as well. Yeah, I suppose I could have just done it the right way in the time that I explained not to do it the wrong way. It's kind of like a slippery slope, though. It's like there's always ways to make the code and organization and just way you're doing things cleaner and better, but you don't want to get like too lost in the sauce and then not get anything done. Okay, so that's going to turn that on. And frankly, I think at this moment, that's all we care about. We just want to see visually that it has been marked. We also want to grab the player. I forgot about that. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and say, let's assign this value because we're going to need to use it, grab it a few times. So get player gyro movement, and I promise one day I will rename that script. And we'll say move, we'll just say player logic. We'll call it that locally. Okay, and then do we have anything that's making sure? Doesn't look like we do. Let's actually make sure that this thing finds it. If not, then we don't care about doing any of this stuff. So if equals null, then return. So yeah, so if it can't find this, then really there's nothing that we can do. We don't really care about it. I like that. Yeah. Crawl, walk around, good mantra. The code can crawl, it's good enough for a start. Yeah. I think that's a good way to look at it. Especially with game development, because so much of what you build it, and then you're like, well, that sucks. And it's not because the code's bad, it's just not fun, and it's a bad design. And so you want to be careful about like over engineering, especially early on. We have a technique that we I guess took or inspired from Jonas Tyler. Oh, I forget his last name. Jonas T. He does a lot of YouTube videos on game development, and he talks about like speedboat versus main boat. And so you can send a lot of speedboats to like test things out, and then your main boat is like kind of what comes behind and follows the good path. When we main boat stuff, we make sure the architecture is strong. Speedboating though is you just build. Okay, so we turned true. We don't need to get this full component again. Get components relatively expensive, so you don't want to call that all over the place. Ideally, you want to store it and reference it. Okay, so now we have this player logic. If it's a player class we need, then we check the mark, but we also want to grab the rigid body, which I think, yeah, it's just RB, and it's publicly accessible. Dot velocity. Oh, I forgot. Unity updated it to linear velocity and angular. You can't just do straight up velocity anymore. Vector 3, 0. And then just to be safe, we'll also do angular velocity. Now, this will stop it for a second, but then it's going to turn right back. It's going to like start moving again because there's a constant force applied. So we need to also turn off, and I should do it in a different order, but let me first get it down. Player logic. Oh, I capitalized it like a goof. Let's do that, and that, and that, and that. Player logic dot constant force component. I love it when it's already declared. Equals, oh, actually not equals. Dot enabled. We'll just disable it. We won't change its value because then we have to store what its value used to be. And we should do that first. So first we stop providing force, and then we set the rigid body's velocity to 0. Just so we don't get like a fraction of a moment of continued force. Okay, so now we should effectively stop the character. Now the tricky part is actually hitting one of these things. Maybe we'll do a quick level design tweak just to line this up in front of a spot. So what we expect to see is a check mark and the player stop. And if it's the wrong class, we should see nothing happen. If this will compile, there we go. Thank you. Okay. Let's get the hacker just because that one's already kind of out and exposed. And we'll just like line it up front and center. So all we need to do is put a hacker on number 2 and we can just roll right into it. Okay, now let's test it. Now the scripts we have, oh, I have a compiler. What'd I do? Ooh, I have a lot. Okay, what's going on here? Something's referencing. Oh, okay. So here we're referencing a lot of the fill meters that we got rid of. That's fine. That we can. What is this script doing? Heist completion manner. Okay. So yeah, this is the manager. You can't see where I'm looking. This is the manager that tracks when all of the steps are complete and then opens the final doors. we will be coming back to this anyway, and honestly, opening all the doors doesn't do anything but visually open some doors. So we are just going to comment this out for now, just so it'll compile. We're going to have to refactor the script anyway. Yeah, we will come back to you. Okay, let's see if that will remove our big, scary red exclamation marks. I wish it would show. I should probably share the screen versus the window, because y'all can never see these compiling script loading bars. It looks like I'm just staring blankly. Okay, we compiled. Let's run this. Okay. And then now we need to go to our, what's it called? The fake player launcher, which is in somewhere. Where did I put it? Probably in Logic. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So yeah, we click on this spawn and debug players. Let me go back to the more interesting view. And we happen to have a hacker right at position 2. There is occasions where I've had bugs where whatever they spawn in as isn't like correctly being stored, but let's just try our luck. If I hit spacebar, all of these friends should roll as our debug button. Cool. Okay. They were launched with a force that's way too hard, but we can see he stopped. And he also scored a bunch of points, and we got a check mark. So that is actually pretty encouraging. Let's fix also that crazy launch speed right now, because that's going to become really annoying really fast. So all we have to do to fix that is just change one value. Super easy. Right now it's launching at 1, which is like maximum ultra hard power. We're just going to go to 0. We're going to let them roll out like it used to be. Let that be the default power. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put another character in that path and make sure it actually is only grabbing the hacker. All right, shuffle player positions. Okay, so now we got the muscle lined up with that spot, and if we launch, it goes right through. All right, I'm happy to see that. And then just as a test, let's just do one more. We need a blue. I don't know. There we go. Okay, he should be grabbed. Yay. I guess we need to see what is triggering the points, because once it might be like on trigger stay or something, because he's just triggering that forever, which is a little overwhelming. So let's fix that. The first time I did it for like a second, and then it kind of like chilled out, but let's just fix that. My guess is it's actually it's not a guess. It's a no. It is on the score object script. So let's look at that one. Okay, so on the score object script, we have a trigger enter and a collision enter. So I guess it can handle either, which is cool because this is put on multiple types of objects. And we simply call this So I'm a little surprised that it keeps calling it over and over again, because it is enter and not stay. So something is making it maybe bounce away and then come back. This is a trigger zone, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Let's double check. Yeah, this is a trigger zone, so we know for sure that it's getting called here. And yeah, for whatever reason, I guess I could put a cooldown on it, but I shouldn't need to. make sure there's nothing else in this function that would make it loop. So this gets called when they enter. We make sure it's the player. We are establishing some variables. As long as it has a component that we care about, then we assign it. Assigning things, yeah, we're just assigning variables. If we have the right class, or if we require no class, that's also an acceptable success state. And then here we're saying if it doesn't require a specific class, so if it's a generic score section, and you're the petty thief class, you get to have a 10x value on that. So the petty thief class is like there just to score you massive points. Like every peg you hit gives you 10 times the value. But that's just, again, setting a value. We're getting the color from a class that I have that has like a palette. And then we have a size multiplier for the text, which is kind of sloppy. Class of player is human. We're actually going to be getting rid of the human, but none of our classes are human that are hitting this, so that doesn't really matter. And we're generating points. Yeah, I don't see anything. Sorry, no, I'm just skimming because this is taking a while to read through each line out loud. Yeah, I don't see anything in here either that would... Try to see if it moves it. Okay, so this is something here that we may want to look at. So the pegs were created all with a kind of their pivot in the center of the world. So when I wanted to scale them up as like kind of a juicy visual thing, I had to basically create an empty parent and do a bunch of like repositioning, and it's kind of gross. That could be a factor. So if it's not scaling parent, which this won't be because it's definitely not under that, we make a new game object, we name it scaling parent, and then we just, yeah, we get the center of the game object, and then we move it. So it could be that it's moving under this parent, even though it's technically in the same spot, but maybe that transform motion somehow within a frame or some tiny amount of time moves it away and back, and then it re-triggers it. We are also scaling the object, so maybe it's scaling down and getting re-triggered. I think what I'll do is just I'm going to add in a little delay. I think that's going to be just fine. It's probably good that we have that too, so no one can like find a weird exploit. So let's make a little timer. So float. We'll say cooldown timer. Actually, I think we can do cooldown timer length. Normally when I make cooldown timers, I have a value of the current time and then a value of the max time it can reach. But if you write it the right way, you only need one value. So I'm gonna try to do it that way and break my bad habit here. Okay, so we probably need a bool to let us know that we are has hit trigger. Actually, there's also collision. So let's say has hit. We'll just call it has hit. Okay. Let's make these both private. So it's obvious they're private. Unity defaults them as private, but sometimes it's nice to see it there. Okay. Now in update, we can say if has hit is true, then we're going to start counting down our timer. So if cooldown timer length is greater than 0, then we will do cooldown timer length minus equals time.delta time. And that, so as long as it's over 0, we're going to keep subtracting. If it gets to 0, below 0, then we will do a few things. We're going to set has hit to false. And we're also going to set cooldown timer. Yeah, see, here's where we'd have to set the value by hard coding it, which I don't love. Yeah, there's a way I've done it before that you can totally like not have that hard coded value in, but I'm forgetting what it is now. But this will work. I mean, I can very easily just see that. That's fine. Another way I could do it is I could set this at the beginning to something, but yeah. Okay, so yeah, now if we have a hit, which we will set as true on trigger enter. I guess we'll set it on collision enter too. Why not? Let them both handle the cooldown. So every object that can score points has this script on it. So this isn't like a shared timer. It's for this specific script. Yeah, and we instantiate it with one already on the clock. So it should be able to run down. It's a whole second, which is a pretty long pause, honestly. Let's make it to like 0.25. I'm just going to do it. I said I break my bad habit, and I'm not, but I think it'll read easier. Cooldown length. And this will be cooldown timer. So this is how I normally set it up. And then I would do cooldown length here. It does, I think it's really readable, which is nice. And then on cooldown, and then you just set that on start. Cooldown length. There we go. Okay. I think that should work. Let's try it. All right, where is our player spawner? Okay, spawn the players. We got super lucky. We got a hacker right lined up. So let's see what happens. We'll pop to this screen. Go. Didn't work. All right. Or at least, at least it didn't break it from being functional, which is good. I'd rather have it do nothing than make it just like not even score a point. Okay. So what if we, okay, as a test, let's just make this, let's make it 1 and see if then we get like every 1 second we're printing it. And then if that happens, then we probably just need to like dig into like what's actually causing the problem. And I think the first thing I'll do is like remove the scaling and all those like tween effects just to see if that is causing the problem. All right, spawn our players in. We didn't get so lucky with our hacker. Let's move until we get one. Okay, cool. And launching. Okay, so yeah, no impact at all. Which is really interesting because if, hold on, let's see. Oh, yeah, okay. So right now, we're setting has hit to true, and we're setting it to false, and we run the timer if has hit is true, but we're not stopping triggers here at all. So we need to actually say if has hit, then return. So as long as that's true, we don't want to do it again. That was the place. That was the part that we're missing. I'm going to go back to 0.25. Okay. I could and maybe should expose that as well, just in case I want to tweak it per object. And maybe some objects we want a higher cooldown on. Okay, let's spawn in our players. Keep doing until we get a dark blue. We got a couple. Let's get one into slot 2. I had a really good odds. There we go, for a while. But then that time, not so much. All right, let's launch. Okay, I think it triggered. Did it trigger more than once? It definitely fixed it from going crazy, but let's make sure that wasn't a fluke. Let's relaunch. Let's get another dude in there. Okay, let's put that through. Okay, so people are going to score points, but we're at 2650. If you score this, it's 1500. None of the other points are near that much. It might be hitting it twice. I can't, I'll just do a print. Because there's so many other things that give points. I don't think just looking at the score is going to be very helpful. Let's just do a print and see if it's calling more than once. Okay, so I just did a simple got in trigger. And so we'll see how many times that calls. It feels like it's printing like, or it's scoring like 2 or 3 times is what it visually feels like, but there is a lot of like scaling and juice there that's kind of making it hard to tell. Okay, let's launch. Oh, let's clear our console first. And I'm going to launch. All right, then we hit stop. And then we are going to search our console for got in trigger. Sweet, it printed once. That's awesome. Hey, Maddie. Hey, Maddie. Yeah, Dallas. So one time, that's amazing. It got printed once. So it was just a visual kind of false alarm. So now that we know that our little bool here has worked, now we can kind of go on to the next step of our objectives. Game development, Maddie. So we're making a game here. It's also what I do for my day gig. But yeah, we're making a video game. So the next step in this, we now have the thing we got done is the player will enter the trigger zone. If they're the right class, they will be held. If they're the wrong class, they will pass through. Points are awarded. The check mark is made. So now we need to trigger a command to tell the network player that, hey, you've hit a trigger zone. I need an input from you to like perform an action. So like this is the hacker. So like, hey, do your hacking thing. And so it's just gonna be a button that says like perform task or something. And kind of just to placeholder where a mini game would go. So for Unity Visual Studio, some people on my team have been shifting over to Rider. I have not tried it, but I hear good things. Visual Studio is what I'm comfortable in though. So yeah. Okay, so to get the command sent, we should do it from the thing that's already functioning because it's well actually hold on. Let's think about this. This is a score object. This is going to be all over things like pegs and doors and things that are not objectives. So we probably want to consider finding a way to call it from the Heist step specific script, which is a little annoying just because like that's not where any of this logic is happening. But I guess it is where we're stopping our player. So I guess that's fine. It's just our score object also reads the trigger and does something else. I don't love that like two separate scripts also have on trigger enter and they do separate things. That again, it's like race condition concerns, like which trigger gets read first. Yeah, I'd be curious. Snotty, did you use Visual Studio first? I'm curious, like I haven't had time to talk to people about like what makes it awesome, but people seem to really like it. Okay, I need to, we need to make a command here. So we have our command script. And what I do normally in this case is like, I just pick a command that already exists, so it doesn't give me the can't compile thing, and then I F12 into here, and then I make a new script, or a new class, a new function, jeez. And then yeah, we'll call it something else. So this will be player entered heist objective zone. And then we don't have a command yet for it, so we're going to have to create that in a moment. Let's first change this. Okay, so now that'll call the right command, and then this will probably change, but there's a good chance it's going to be their player number. So this will be player logic dot player ID. I might have to try Rider one of these days. I do like me an easy to use UI. Something that I do for my brain is not working tonight, for repositories and interacting with repositories is use source tree, but Visual Studio has something built in, so a lot of my team uses just Visual Studio for that aspect of it. Source control. Wow, my brain it's rough tonight, y'all. Yeah, for source control, I like source tree. It was even in the name source tree. Wow. Okay. One of these days I'll stream at like 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and y'all will think I'm a different person. I spelled this wrong. That's going to be confusing later. Let's fix that. Heist needs to be spelt properly. Oh, except now I have to find and pin. Okay, so the problem with this, though, is when we actually call that command, it's calling something different. So we need to go to our quantum solution file and create a command. And these are the things that basically, it's sort of like events over the network. So when I want Unity to tell basically the network that something is happening, that is a command. And then if the network wants to tell something, you can also think of it as like the server. If the server wants to tell Unity something, or the client, those will be events. So we send commands to the server sends events back to Unity. That's not like super technically correct for quantum, but it's the same concept. So sweet, thank you for following. Well, I'm glad you can understand me a little. I'm one of those really lame people who only speak one language, so you are much better than I've tried to learn languages a few times. Like I took Spanish in college, and I got good enough to pass, but I didn't use it, and so I forgot it all. And then I learned Latin for a little bit because I was like really into choir when I was younger, and like Latin is a cool like language for choral music, and I was a composer for a brief period. But obviously that like you never really use that, so forgot that as well. And then I've tried to learn Italian a few times because Italy's a cool place, but never stuck. Okay, remember where I was at. So yeah, we need to make a command. So we need to go to the solution file for Quantum, which is a separate solution file. In Quantum 3, they don't make you do this anymore, and I'm so excited to switch over. But right now, I don't want to convert a project. A good time to do that is when we go out of pre-production, because we're going to throw out most of this code anyway. And when we go into production, we'll switch to Quantum 3. And now that we know, by that point, we'll know like what the game is supposed to do functionally, and the code writing will go so much faster because we're not trying to solve new problems and experiment. We're just, making tasks and knocking it out. And at that point, I'll probably have some help from at least one other engineer. Okay, I'm looking for the Quantum solution file. Where is there's my Windows Explorer. So I always just hop into the folder, and then you can see like for Quantum 2, 1 and 2, you have like your normal Unity folder that if you use Unity, you're kind of familiar with seeing this, like your assets. If you go up one more, you'll see the quantum_code folder. And I think that's its default name. I don't think I've renamed it. And then there's your solution file that you need to edit your netcode. English is a weird language. I think there's just so many weird rules about it. Like if I wasn't born with English as my first language, I would be terrified to learn the English language. It's so bad. It just doesn't make sense in parts. And we just know it because we've spoken it for so long. Okay, so let me drop this here. This is our Quantum solution now. And we need a new command. And this command is going to tell us that a player has entered. So we'll need the player ID for sure. I don't know if we really need any other information. We probably need to know what type of objective it is. So that way we could later make a mini game that's custom. So if it gets a hacker event, it could be like cutting the wires or something. So we can do that. So let's just duplicate a command. It'll save us some time. So this is our duplicate. We'll rename this to player entered heist objective command. And then we will name this to player ID. And then we also will do something like we'll do an int that we can convert to an enum later and call this. Does everyone say enum or enum? I always say enum, but I think it's enum. Just like I say Euler angles, even though I think it's Euler. But yeah. Public int is what we call this. This is the heist enum value. Okay, so now we have that. Make sure we serialize both of these values. And then right now it's doing a turn reset event. We don't want that event. So this is like the kind of annoying, tedious stuff for the Quantum netcode. Is like, okay, I just want to tell all the players that something happened. And a long time ago, I used to use a different system, and I think it was like the built-in Unity networking, and you would just like do like brackets, and you'd be like RPC, and then you would just like something happens. And I feel like that just worked, and it was really nice. But then I'd run into all sorts of weird net problems with Quantum. There's a lot more steps, but once you do it, it like just works. And rarely do things go like surprise you from a networking standpoint, which is really nice because netcode's annoying to troubleshoot. But yeah, now that we've done the command, we now need to make an event to go back to Unity and say, hey, this happened. So let's make a new event. Here I've set up a script. Where is it? My eyes are old. There it is. Okay. So we'll make a new event. And so this file just has a whole bunch of events in it. And we're going to call this player entered heist objective event. It's a little redundant because in Unity you have to start this with the word event for it to recognize it. So it's like event, but whatever. In Quantum, you don't see that, so it's kind of helpful here. Okay, so we'll call this player ID. And then we also need the objective enum type. Okay, and then we also forgot, I forgot to rename this to player entered heist objective command. Just to make sure I don't have a typo, let's do that. Okay. All right, so now we have this command. We don't want to be raccoon left. It needs to be player. I think we need to build. That's another thing about Quantum. Unlike Unity, you actually have to hit build from Visual Studio for it to compile. You don't just click into the Unity window. Events. A player has entered heist objective event. And it needs the... Oh, I went in the wrong script. Undo. So this is the right place for raccoon left map event. Yeah, so didn't want to change that one. We want to change this one. Here we go. Okay. So this one is player has entered heist objective event. We pass the player ID, and we pass the heist enum value. Okay. So now, back on the Unity side, we will click here. We can make sure we send the right command, right? So this was the... I have to click into the Unity window here because what happens is when you build in Quantum, it compiles and then updates the DLL file, but then you need to click into Unity for it to like recognize that updated change, as far as I understand it. But yeah, that's how it works. As far as how to describe it, maybe I'm describing it incorrectly, but once this bar fills up, I can see my event and command that I just created. But I think before the next stream, I will switch to screen style, just because before the stream, every time I have to like resync my OBS to the windows, to the game windows. So it'd be nice if it was just attached to the screen. Okay, so now we can do player. There we go. There's our command, player entered heist objective, and it's like, hey, that is not a value we need. We need player ID. And then you should also need, I think it's commas in here. Yeah. And then you also need the heist enum value, which we don't have sent, but we need to send it. Because enums you can convert from ints back to their type, their string. I don't know, like their name, basically. Okay, so yeah. So now we have our heist objective zone. This is the one that calls it, and it's like, hey, that's a problem. And I'm like, I know, you need the value. So this would be player class needed. Yeah, because that'll be like hacker or lockpick or something like that. Because I guess actually there isn't technically an objective enumerator. Like it just references player class. So Player class needed, and I think we can do that, and it is happy. So yeah, just passing that, taking that value and casting it to an int is what we need to do. Cool. So now from Unity, the moment we enter, we will send a command to the server telling it who just entered. The server will then receive that command. It will serialize the values, and it will make an event with those values. Now, Unity, again, back on the Unity side, now we need to listen for that event. And when we hear it, we need to do something. Now, we don't want to do anything on the host screen, which is this guy. This is like our host, our kind of main screen that we're looking at. We want to do that on the phone device. So for that, we need to do it over here. Now this is a different instance of Unity, so I need to go into source tree and commit the changes and put them here, so that way it's aware of the new commands and events. So it's compiling something. I don't remember changing anything, but it's compiling something right now. So let's let that finish. Okay, that was fast. Let me go back to source tree, and this was in our trash heist project, so we can see things like, the quantum code project file. We modified the events. Yes, we did. There's a weird issue with this repo where it always wants to push these fonts, and I just always have to ignore it. I guess we changed up some other stuff too while we were working. I'm pretty confident that all these are safe and intended changes. And then here are the important ones, right? Quantum code DLL and quantum code PDB. Those ones we need to push, or we would have to open up and build from the quantum project in the other project, and we don't want to do that. It's just a hassle. Cool. And then the new file, which is the objective command. Staging all those. All these changes are things that we didn't actually want to push. So we're going to say new command for entering heist zone. And we will commit and push that. And then if we click onto this project, which is the same one, there is a way to have two repositories mirror each other, but I haven't figured out how to set that up yet. So let's pull. And if none of the same files that are currently edited are ones that are being pulled, it's cool with it. And so it looks like it worked. So now when I click over into here, this particular window is sharing one of my screens. So we can actually see the loading bar, which is nice. All right, after I get this command working, we'll probably call it after that, just because it do be getting late. All right, so now we need to think about where it's going to show up. So this is the game screen. We should just make another panel that pops up. So the problem with the panel is if it's on this if you're currently on this canvas, if I can turn it on, this is on top. But if you're on the screen and we pop something up on the other one, you won't see it, and then vice versa. So I think I actually need to make another canvas, unfortunately, because I set this up in a weird way. Okay, so we're going to call this minigame canvas. And then we'll put something in there, like a panel. And we'll put the sorting order to... Where's the sorting order? There you are. 2. So now this one's on top. So now we could, if we made this panel solid, which we probably should, I don't know if white's the right color. It's blinding. Let's make it more of a gray. And then we'll just make a button. We just want it really simple for now. And we'll make this like, I don't know. Okay, and then instead of button, we would say perform heist task. Let's make the button a little bigger. Cool. In fact, it's literally the only thing on the screen, so we can make it pretty big. Maybe we will put some corners on it so it looks like a button. Oh, it's tough when our... Let's make the background not gray. If it was white, I'm just trying to like have that, the borders kind of visible, but it's tough because that's gray. And I just don't know if I want a really bright color. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. This is just really to test the functionality, and then eventually this is going to be replaced with like a little mini game. Okay. So now we want this particular panel, or sorry, I guess this canvas, to pop up whenever whenever you have a heist task to perform. So we probably need a new script to manage this. We'll call this Heist Mini Game Manager. And it's compiling. Okay, let's drop this on. Actually, yeah, where do we want to put it? We can put it on the canvas object because we don't disable this object. We just disable its canvas component. Mini game manager. Actually, no, we have a logic or logic object here. Let's put it here. Create empty. We'll call this heist mini game manager. It's easier to find that way, so you're not looking through a bunch of game objects trying to find your scripts. So whenever something like it doesn't tightly connect to a very single simple usage, I like to put it on a logic game object. Okay, so now let's go ahead and make... realize I was listening to music, but I've had it off for like most of the stream, so I do not need my headphones on. Let's do the thing. What were we doing? We were making... Oh yeah, we need to listen to the events. So we can just copy one of my other... It's on enabled. We basically set up a listener, but I always forget the exact syntax. So yep, there we go. Quantum event.subscribe. There we go. And then the actual specific one we care about is event player heist. Yes. And here's what I meant before. You have event player. Oh, you can't see that. Sorry. But yeah, you have event player entered heist objective event. And so, yeah. And then that's the only thing we need right now on this particular one. And then we're going to have a function that's open minigame modal. And you pass the event. We'll call it callback. And we will say if callback dot ID equals... Actually, does this one have a player ID? because I don't think I've actually done any calls to the mobile device. Let me see, because I think we can get like the local player ref, or we could get the actor number. I think actor number is more reliable. I can't remember why, but I was having issues with the names being correct. But I'm not sure. Yeah, let's use actor number. That means we're going to have to make a small change on the command send, which is okay. It's not in Quantum, so it's not a huge deal. But okay, so yeah, if the callback ID is this person's actor number, then we want to pop open the canvas. So we would say public canvas mini game canvas. Dot enable equals true. Okay, so now the moment we hit the objective, we should get this to pop up. We do need to assign its value here. Oh, and then we also, like I said, need to fix the send. So right now we're sending player ID. We actually want to get the actor number. Which might be harder to find. Shoot. Oh, there we go. Sweet. That's what I was hoping for. So yeah, we will send that instead. Should be more reliable because it's the other one's a value I'm setting to things like I've created. This one is through the network manager. So, okay. So now let's make sure we assign the canvas. Cool. And then let's test it. Let's see if it works. So we need to connect the two games together. This one's still compiling. Okay. We want to be on main menu. Okay. Alrighty, so we are going to spawn at spot number 2. We are going to be a hacker. Oh, let me put my simulator over here. Be a hacker. And then when I launch, if everything goes as expected, this screen that we're looking at here, is going to turn into the other one. So let's hope we get that right. Darn it. Okay, it didn't work. That's okay. That happens. Let's figure out what went wrong. Okay, I didn't see any debugs or like any errors. I'm just skimming to make sure both. Okay, so let's look through our code. So something happened there where it didn't properly trigger. We did change a lot of stuff at once. Now it's possible maybe we just need to go to source tree and merge these back together, but also, why do you have changes? All right, this is the quantum portion of it. And when the player entered heist, let's start at the top. So that would be from the collision, or the trigger, to be more accurate. Okay, so on the trigger, we know this is happening because our player stops. So we're successfully stopping them. So then we would want to look, okay, so from here, we call player entered heist objective zone. And we're setting the actor number and the player class. So let's follow this here. We are sending player entered heist objective command and sending the values. So that all seems correct. So then on the quantum side, we are getting those two serialized. Player entered heist objective event. Oh, we say player has reset their term, which isn't the right. It's player ID. Well, whatever. I don't want it to recompile the quantum solution and have to push it. But that all looks correct. Let's look at this. If this event is being read, it would have been read on the mobile device side, which is this one. Why is it compiling something? I didn't think I changed anything. So on this side, we should have this heist minigame manager. Player entered heist objective event. Open minigame modal. Okay, so this is what could have been the issue. Like we maybe we didn't have a match with this actor number. So let's print that. So print local actor number is this. And then we'll say callback ID is callback. Okay, let's run it back and let's see what this print comes out to be. Now, if that prints, that's great. That means it is going through all of the routes that it needs to go to, and then we just have a value that we have to resolve. Okay, I'm going to clear out my consoles so I can read them easier. And then I'm going to spawn in at 2 as a hacker. Okay, and we will see if we get any interesting prints. All right. No. We did not. Oh, wait, hold on. I don't think it did. Let me double check what the print was. It's supposed to be local actor number. I don't think this printed. It did not. Okay, so good and bad news. Good news is it wasn't an issue with the value. Bad news is like we're not getting this called for some reason. It could be again that I need to push and pull, and maybe I'm thinking I'm in the wrong version. I guess let's check that. So Heist minigame manager. I'm pretty sure that's in the WebGL one. Oh, oh yeah, it's there. Yeah. So yeah, it should have seen it. Okay, well, this is something I'm gonna dig more into tomorrow. I think normally these things, it's like it's a fairly simple user error. So once I have some fresh eyes in the morning, I'll take a look at it. But we got decently far. We didn't get to make the sort of interesting little events like a car crashing through a wall and stuff. Now that was just gonna be a very simple kind of placeholder animation, but we did fix the bug. Like, so now the events actually grab players and score and check off the box, and it lets other players pass through. So that's like really great. And then now we just need to fix this call, and then we will be able to kind of like quote play a mini game by just hitting that button, and then we can have the game do whatever it wants once you hit that button. So tomorrow these should all be done, and then the probably next big thing is to make interesting, maybe not interesting, to make like things happen in the map that are noticeable when you complete these objectives. So yeah, that will be coming up in the near future. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night.